and welcome to Cutoff Genes, the podcast that teaches you how to find the truth using nothing but DNA. My name is Julie Dixon Jackson. I am a genetic genealogist, heretofore known as a Gen Genie.
And I'm Renee Colvert. I am here to ask questions and have her explain it in a very simple way.
And I am Richard Castle, the engineer and producer, and I really don't know why I'm here other than to keep these ladies in line.
Good luck.
Okay. Hey, gang, how we doing?
How are you? Now, did you watch the royal wedding? I know it's a little bit long. Of course you did.
I loved it. Yeah. I am a bitter Betty when it comes to a lot of these things, but I am in love with this couple.
I know. I was like, no, guys, come on. And then I caught one little clip and I'm like, oh, I'm in. Oh, I'm in.
I loved everything about it. I love the preacher. I love the choir. I love the toothless kid holding the train. Oh my gosh. It was great.
Just
anyway.
the best.
Okay, let's start with a little corrections corner.
Okay.
Please. Okay, so in episode 1, when I was running down the companies, I said that 23andMe only gives you percentage amounts between you and your matches, and it's usually like 0.35%, which sounds like a real bummer.
Right.
Because it's really low and most of your matches are
very low.
I prefer whole numbers. So that is still true, but I have been going back into 23andMe to relearn it and learn the new stuff, and it does have some good stuff.
Interesting.
I'm gonna admit it here. I'm gonna tell the truth and shame the devil.
Yeah, they're catching up.
Yeah, in some ways. That I love that chromosome browser.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
So they still do when they just show you in your one-to-one matches or you and your group of matches. It tells you the percentage.
Okay.
But if you plug them into the chromosome browser, they now provide centimorgans instead of percentages.
At this. Good
Isn't that good to know?
23andMe, growing, learning, changing.
Evolving.
Right.
Here's the news.
Yes,
ready?
I'm listening.
Okay. Cece Moore and Parabon Nanolabs, which I spoke of last week,
Right.
just this past week solved a 30-year-old double murder using my new favorite term, forensic genealogy.
Come on. This is so great, Julie.
Yep. So that happened, and it was this couple from Canada who had driven down to Washington for the weekend and disappeared.
Whoa.
And they found their bodies, and that was 30 years ago, and they just now solved it and made an arrest.
That is crazy.
Second piece of news, GEDmatch have updated their upload policy to clarify that DNA can be uploaded by law enforcement.
Whoa.
But only to, 1, identify a perpetrator of a violent crime against another individual, or 2, identify remains of a deceased individual.
Interesting.
So that's what they're putting on their front page before you can upload something. You have to agree to it.
To both of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that seem fair?
Sure.
Is there any other scenario with which you think that they should include?
Not me, no.
Okay.
You know, I think it's clear which side I'm on.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's debate going back and forth about it. But I think in general, most of us want to catch the bad guys.
Yeah. Great. That's excellent news for
You
today.
like that news?
I do. I like
Okay.
both pieces of news.
All right. So let's go on to something else.
Okay.
I was on one of the pages this week, and Blaine Bettinger, who I mentioned before, he is a patent attorney, so he's actually a good person to talk to actually about GEDmatch.
Oh, cool.
But,
yeah.
And also about what's happening between 23andMe and
Right, but he's got all
because
the
of all the patent attorney
inside
things.
stuff.
And he's also
Yeah.
a genetic genealogist.
Come on.
Gen Genie. See, I can't remember. So here's what he had to say. He posted an article about 2 donor-conceived children that met for the first time.
Oh, cool. Wait, so it's siblings that met?
They're half siblings.
Cool.
Yes. So they were probably from sperm donors.
Okay.
It's more common.
Okay.
And they found each other and got together. So he wrote this: every egg and sperm donor must be told in no uncertain terms that their biological child will be able to identify them with almost no difficulty. There is no such thing as anonymity when it comes to DNA. Anything else than that is unethical and should be legally actionable, in my opinion.
Now, Julie, you know what's curious about this?
What's curious?
And now, listen, in my 20s, you go to a job search, or you even go to Backstage West because we were both
Sure.
Former performers. You know, a great way to make money
Yes.
donate those eggs.
Uh-huh.
Guess who ran to the booth and was like, I will, me.
Did you do that?
I've donated eggs 6 times.
6 times.
And every time I've signed the thing of like, no, it's cool. Let the parents do whatever they want. I don't need to be part of it. I know that one did turn into a kiddo. And I was like, well, that's great. I'll just stay out of his life. But maybe I'm not going to do that now.
So you know it was a boy?
Yeah.
Okay.
They started to send me pictures, and I was like, I'm okay.
All right. So when you did this,
Right.
what did they tell you about your privacy?
I'd have to go back and look at the paperwork, but I
Okay.
think it was just like, I think it was more like a financial thing of like, you'll never be financially responsible for this. And then I think it was also, we won't reveal your information.
Just so our listeners know, sperm donors and egg donors get paid very differently.
Yeah.
Obviously, because it's a bigger deal for women to have to give up their eggs. Men do something that they literally do every day anyway,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they just get
Yeah, yeah.
paid for it.
Yeah.
Which seems unfair.
It is, well, yeah.
You mean I can get paid for it?
Yeah, Rich.
You haven't been already? All right. So, and women have to, well, let me see. Tell me what you had to do to prepare for this.
Yes. So it's like a month-long process where you basically take shots every day that, yeah, I don't know why it didn't bother me.
Did you give them to yourself?
Then, yeah. Yeah. So you give yourself, I think.
I'm out already.
You're okay. So, and there's, I can say the medication for this, but I don't quite remember. But it
Some kind of
basically makes
hormone.
your body produce a lot more eggs than you normally have. And I think that's what makes you a donor that's popular is if your body is able to produce
Like a
lot of
fish.
eggs. Right. So I think a low number would be around 8 and then a high number, which is where mine was always in the 20s.
Do you know how many they harvested total from you? Harvested. That's
Over
fun.
time. No, I know that each time it was upwards of 20 that my body created, but I don't know what happened after that.
Okay.
Yeah. Because in
Wow.
my head, I'm not going to lie that it's obviously the money. That's the reason you do
course.
it. But there's
Why wouldn't
also, I got to meet a few couples because that was one of the things like, hey,
Did they
can
choose
we meet
you?
Yeah. Isn't that nice? So you have your
Aw,
little
I choose
profile.
you too.
I know, thanks, Julie. But then they will tell you their saga. They've done everything they can up until this point. Like, you are our last resort. And there's something that feels kind of good. I'm like, yeah,
course.
absolutely. Go get them, tigers.
Right. Right.
Tigers. And I did think that that's the end of that. And now this is my worry. I don't want the kids to be disappointed. I don't want them to find
please.
me and be like, oh no.
All right. One more question
Yes.
before we get into that
Right.
further. How painful was it?
Listen, I have plenty of fears and plenty of phobias, but for some reason
You're fine with people poking around your nether
yeah. So the
regions?
shots weren't a problem, and then you were a little uncomfortable the week of, just because you got a lot of eggs in you. But it's not. I don't know. I never found it to be that troubling.
Did you feel crazy because of all the extra hormones?
I think I just always think that I'm a little nutty and
Okay.
sensitive.
That's fair.
So no, I didn't particularly notice a huge thing, but there were plenty of girls who report it made me insane.
It would make me crazy. I know that.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
Because
that's fair.
I already am. So again.
Yeah.
All right. So let's discuss the difference between donor-conceived children looking for their biological donor parents and adopted children looking for their biological
Yeah.
donor parents.
What's the update on this? Because when that happened, none of this was around.
Of course
Ancestry
not.
had just gotten started, but DNA wasn't part of it.
Right. So it never occurred to you that these people may come looking for you and they would actually very easily be able to find you. So I know that there are a lot of donor-conceived babies out there,
Of course.
that are actively looking for their donors.
Wow.
I've spoken to a couple of them, and I'm actually going to speak to a few more, a little more in depth, so I can actually get their point of view on it. But from my point of view, as an adoptee, essentially somebody made a mistake and you were their dirty little secret.
Right.
And they had to get rid of you.
Sure.
And I don't mean to put that in such harsh terms, but that is ultimately
It's a way
why
that you can feel
happens.
about it. Yeah.
Right. And
With
there's
the-
a rejection part to it, that, you can feel rejection without feeling anger about being rejected
course,
or
yeah.
what have you. But there is certainly a rejection aspect to it, whereas if you are donor conceived, you are literally made from scratch because somebody wanted you so badly.
bad. Yeah. Yeah. And so in talking to these kiddos, what's their thoughts on it?
Well, I haven't talked to them.
Oh, okay.
Is what
You're
I'm
going
saying.
to. Okay.
I've spoken to them, but I haven't asked them in depth if they feel differently than I do.
Right.
So maybe this week I'll take a little time and interview some of them on Facebook.
Smart. Yeah, that'd be good. Let's do that.
And we'll revisit next week.
Yeah, that's
How do you
exciting.
feel about that?
I feel okay.
So your 23andMe ethnicity, all your 23andMe results came in this week.
I sent you an email.
Yes, you did. And at first I thought it was Ancestry.
Right.
Which made me super excited.
I'm sorry.
And then you gave me the password to look at it before you did, and I couldn't get in, and it drove me crazy. And then I realized I was trying to get into Ancestry with your
sure.
23andMe.
Okay, but it was, and so the reason that I took 23andMe is it was a Christmas gift.
Correct.
Because I took Ancestry on air here.
Yep.
But then you taught me how to do it, and so I got it for Christmas, and then I just now.
So wait a minute. Are you saying what is the time difference between when you took each test?
Like a week? So 23andMe got back to me in like 10 days.
Did you take 23andMe after or before Ancestry?
After. I know.
And you have the results.
I
now.
know. Yeah.
Nice one.
Yep, they're
23andMe.
playing to win.
Yeah. Although it could just be because they have a lot less users, but
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's
No
very
offense.
possible. Right.
So I looked very briefly at your results.
Right.
I noticed in your matches, again, nobody has trees, nobody puts names or anything, but you do have a second cousin match who's one of his 4 last names that he is connected to is your grandmother's maiden name.
Oh, look at that. On my dad's side or my mom's side?
Your mom's side.
Oh,
your
cool.
mother's maiden name, which was
Gosh, I don't even
something
remember.
Cow, C-O-W, Jan Cow. I
That
wanna
sounds
say.
right, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I haven't looked further into that because he doesn't have a tree on there, so I need to find him and I need to reach out to him and see if he even wants to be reached out to and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So that's fun.
Cool.
And so let's break down your ethnicity results. All right, so here's a big surprise.
Who am I?
You're 99.9% European.
Yeah.
What
we
do
probably
you-
put that together.
Yep. 41.4% of that is British and Irish.
Okay.
23.4 French and German.
Okay.
It specifies more Germany than France.
Yep.
4.3% Scandinavian.
Okay.
Eastern European, 2% Eastern European,
Okay.
which is, I guess, one of those Slavic places. And, Poland. You're a little bit Polish.
A little Polish.
Are you surprised
Just
at
a little
that?
bit. Yeah, but also no. I
It's
didn't
a very
know
low
anything
number,
coming
too.
into it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that would make sense. And then I've been talking to my mom about this. She said that her dad's parents came from Germany.
I knew that.
I know you did.
Yeah.
Because the thing I didn't.
Yeah, I actually have their ship passage. They went to Canada first, and then took a ship from Canada to New York.
Julie, that's so cool.
Yeah.
God, it's crazy you can find that.
You're
Okay.
welcome. All right, and then 0.3% is broadly Southern European. Broadly Northwestern, European is 25.1%. That's just regions that they can't really identify,
Somewhere.
but it's like up there in the north. I don't know.
right.
And the last 0.1%.
Yes.
And this is the best part.
Uh-huh.
Sub-Saharan African. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I feel like I know who I am now.
It really explains everything. Doesn't it?
Yeah. Can I tell you that that part made me feel really cool? I
Did
was like,
it?
listen, I got street cred.
That's right. That's right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What
and
was
you
the
said that
percentage
before.
though?
You don't feel so 0.1%.
I'm
Very
gonna
low.
hold on to it. Yes.
However,
yes.
Maybe your third match down is a black woman.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that great? I was like,
Yes.
ooh, and it's definitely on that region. So what's good is that you are definitely if she has a hashed out tree,
Right.
we may definitely be able to figure out where that comes from
This
for
is
you.
amazing.
I
Oh my
know.
gosh.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Because you said as much, but then when you actually personalize it and you get to see yours, you're like, well, that's nuts. How are you
love it.
finding out stuff about me that I had no idea?
That's
DNA,
my job,
baby.
ma'am. Yeah. So that's that so far. We're going to compare that to your ancestry DNA test when it comes back, and we'll see how drastically different they are. And I'll take another stab at explaining why that is so.
I love this. Great job.
Thank you. Let's take a break.
All right.
Okay.
You are listening to Cutoff Genes. And now back to Julie Dixon Jackson and Renee Colvert.
All right, we're back.
Woohoo. I missed you.
I missed you too. a listener question.
My favorite.
So this was a listener question. There's no name for it because I don't think they actually asked the question on our Facebook page.
Okay.
But it was on one of the other pages, and I decided I wanted to
great.
answer it because I think a lot of people want to know this. And yeah. All right. So here's the question. What is the most reliable site as far as centimorgans go? I have a match on Ancestry that is 33 centimorgans. On MyHeritage, it's 48 centimorgans. And on FTDNA, it's 65 centimorgans.
Oh, boy.
What gives?
That's a great question. Do you have an answer for
I
this?
do have an answer. All right. The answer is Ancestry tends to understate.
Okay.
Due to something called the timber algorithm, which filters out segments that are less than 7 centimorgans. The basic idea is that two people that share identical DNA on a particular location, but they also share this segment with thousands of other people, then the DNA shared between the two people. Thank you, Buddy. That was Buddy.
You guys will get a dog in the
Rich's
booth.
dog.
He's so cute.
Shaking it off.
He's into it. He's excited about this.
Okay. So if two people share an identical DNA in a particular location, but they also share with thousands of other people, which is called a pileup, then the DNA shared between the two people was probably inherited from a more distant ancestor.
Okay.
So the timber algorithm is assuming that a segment less than 7 centimorgans,
Right.
that it also sees a lot of other people match there too,
Okay.
is probably a pileup. And it's probably a far more distant relative.
Interesting.
So, like,
Okay.
between, it's probably not from the last 6 to 10 generations. So, super distant.
I love this.
Yeah.
So is it, okay, not this, but maybe this. On my resume, I was like, do I include that time I worked at Olive Garden when I was 16? And you're like, no, that's irrelevant now. You don't need that. So all of
On
them
your
are,
acting resume
Right,
or
yes.
your
Listen,
waitressing
it was a rough
resume?
go for a second. But is it, so everybody's acknowledging, hey, there's that many centimorgans, but the different sites are saying, but these are the ones that actually count.
Right. So, Ancestry's algorithm, it just automatically, at 7 centimorgans, it deletes a bunch.
Yeah.
And it deletes some slightly higher ones too, but not as many.
Okay. So they're kind of filtering out, here's the ones that we think
filtering.
will help you.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think so.
So it's not that they're getting, everybody's getting the same number, they're just filtering differently.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's not a perfect theory in that timber doesn't take into consideration whether you and that match share more than just one segment. Okay. So a lot of the times you share in other places too, which is not a pileup, and those
Right.
other people don't match you.
Aha.
So, this is when it's a good idea to bring GEDmatch into the equation. Okay, FTDNA tends to overstate because they add up every little segment that the others don't count. Although you can use the chromosome browser to manually cancel out any segments below 7 centimorgans if you so wish.
Okay, that's nice. That's an option.
And then MyHeritage seems okay for close relationships, but can overstate more distant ones because they use a process called imputation that takes an educated guess at the parts that weren't tested.
Yeah, no, I don't like that. That's
weird.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
It's an educated guess.
I don't want any guesses. Let's just tell me what it says.
I wonder if it's a computer program that's taking an educated guess.
Yeah, which is fine. That's fine. But just make sure it's super, super clear. Hey, this is the part we're guessing on.
Right. So bottom line, GEDmatch gives you the most balanced view.
There we go.
And
okay.
everything comes back to GEDmatch, everybody.
I love that.
I'm going to get that as a tattoo.
Yes.
All right. Let's go on to the DNA-related word of the week.
Oh, I can't wait.
Word
Okay.
or phrase of the week. Or what do you call that when it's
acronym?
Yes, thank you.
bet.
Acronym. Okay, the acronym is NPE. What do you think it is? Go.
No problem, everybody. Perfect. Just if you're stressed about it, they're like, NPE. No problem. It's fine.
NPE. All right, what it is, and it varies in different countries and cultures and levels of education, I want to say.
Okay.
Okay, it's a non-paternal event or
okay.
a non-parental event. And somebody the other day, I think they were from Scotland.
Right.
They called it a not parent expected.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
I was like, I don't think that's what that means, but I mean, it's the same point, I
Right.
suppose. And it's also another name for misattributed paternity.
Oh, okay.
All right. Non-paternity event or paternal event is a term used in genetic genealogy, Gen Genie, to describe any event which has caused a break in the link between an hereditary surname and the Y chromosome, resulting in a son using a different surname from that of his biological father. Okay. That's going way too deep into it.
Break that down.
What an NPE is when you thought your dad was one person, and then you take a DNA test and you don't match your dad or anyone in his family.
Whoa. Okay.
Or your grandfather, or it can be somebody further up.
Right.
But that's what happens, and it happens shockingly quite a lot. Less so with mothers, obviously, because you know where you came from.
Right.
But so yeah, that happens a lot. I actually got a message on Facebook from a lady that's in the group, but she didn't want to publicly talk about it.
Right.
Because this is really new for her. And she said, Are we going to talk about the not so great outcomes too?
Yeah.
And we are. We really are.
Because I think you are going to come up with some oh, boy.
Because there's lots of them.
Right.
But that happened to her. And she discovered that after her mother was married, she had a little party in the 60s, and it just came out, and her mother has basically disowned her. Her mother has disowned her, and she's telling other people that they are estranged because of political differences. So her life is turned upside down.
Of course it is. Yeah,
her father has passed away, thank God. Well, she said thank God, because she didn't, she wouldn't have known how to tell him.
Right.
And she also discovered she had her sister take a DNA test, and she too has a different father that is not their
Mom?
father. So she said mom partied in the 60s and the 70s. Yeah. It happens. I have many friends that this has suddenly happened to. My friend Amy, who I've known for years, one day she came to me and said, "You're not going to believe what my mom took me to lunch to tell me."
What?
Yeah.
That is not... So I guess, how often do you think the dad is oblivious? Thinks that it's his?
Oh, I want to say 90% of the time.
Really?
Yeah. Although Amy's dad did know that she was not his, but he still raised her as her father until the parents divorced.
Yeah.
But he was still there. He was still in her
What'd
life
they get divorced
as
over?
her dad. Gee, I wonder.
What happened? What was the problem?
Irreconcilable differences. Something about the toilet seat, I think.
Yeah, that'll get you every time.
Right. So that, in a nutshell, is an NPE, or not parent expected.
No problem, everybody.
All right. Let's break.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Cutoff Genes, the new podcast starring Julie Dixon-Jackson with Renee Colvert.
We're back, Renee.
Yes. Back to my favorite segment.
When we left off, I had made contact with my biological mother for the first time, and we spoke for a couple hours in the middle of the night on the phone. And then I went and crawled in bed with my mom and spent the rest of the night there.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks later, I got my first letter. We'd agreed to send pictures and talk.
Right.
So she sent me this letter.
And did you send her pictures of you as well?
Yep.
Was that hard to pick which one you want to send?
Yeah. I guess. I don't even remember what I sent her, but I'm sure they were the most flattering pictures I could find. And I don't have very many pictures of me as a child, actually. My parents didn't own a camera. So all the pictures from first of all, there are no baby pictures of me.
Right.
So the first picture of me was actually taken, I was over 1, definitely.
Huh. Gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I guess if you don't have a camera, that's how it shakes out. Did you think to send her a cassette of you singing?
Oh, I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
At some point.
But you didn't the first letter.
Not the first letter, no.
Okay. All right.
No. I love that you said cassette because you're aware of the time.
Yeah, I know what we're doing.
Good job. So I got this letter, and the first thing I noticed was it had a smell to it. It was like a sweet smell, like a perfume. I assumed that was her perfume.
Yeah.
I don't know if she used scented.
I bet she sprayed
Stationery?
it deliberately.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But every piece of mail I've ever gotten from her has that same smell. And that's like the Lynn smell.
Have you asked her about it?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't think I have.
Well, maybe ask if she does a little spritz before she sends.
Yeah.
A little she thinks that's part of the sending process. To make it smell
Maybe
good.
that's what you have to do. Otherwise, it won't get there.
It won't go. They're not going to send smelly mail, please.
So it had her handwriting was very neat, which is not me. And the letter was very thoughtfully written. I noticed, I think at the end of the letter, she had written she had addressed it to me, Dear Julie.
Right.
But very faintly, she had written a Katrina Ellen.
Huh.
Like she was trying it out. She wanted to see what is it like if I use her name, the name that I gave her.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very faintly written. Like maybe she won't notice this, but maybe I want her to notice it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. When you noticed it, what did you think?
I thought that was cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was touching.
Did Katrina, because names are a weird thing.
Names are weird.
Which settled more with you, Julie or Katrina?
Good question. I don't know the answer. I did not like the name Katrina before I knew that it was my name.
Right. Yeah. I would bet that would have something to do with it.
But I did like the name Cat.
Yeah.
And I have always thought, cat. Yeah, I'm a good cat. I've always thought that if I ever used that name, I would be Cat as opposed to Katrina.
But no, Cat would be a great name for you.
Welcome to Cutoff Jeans with Cat Jackson.
Cat Jackson.
That's real fun.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
So,
yes,
there were also pictures that she sent, pictures of my siblings, Anne-Marie, Noel, and Sean.
Okay.
And let me see, Anne-Marie, Noel was the oldest. He was born about 5 years after me. Anne-Marie is about 6 years younger. And Sean is about 10 years younger.
Wow.
He was a late baby. And there was, so pictures of my siblings. And I didn't think any of them really looked like me or I looked like them.
Were you looking for height stuff?
Yeah, well, and they're all, so I'll get into it later.
Okay.
But so my sister, I studied her the most.
Sure.
And I couldn't see me in her except for the coloring.
Right.
She had very, very naturally dark hair, which I did too. My mother described it as almost black, and that's about right. And yeah, our coloring was similar. I, of course, didn't have a visual of their physicality or how tall they were yet. So,
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So I looked at that. And then there was a picture of both my grandparents and all 6 of their children.
Okay.
So
all your aunts and uncles.
all my aunts and uncles and my mother.
Okay.
And so I looked at it and decided to play a little game with myself and see if I could pick out my mother.
Oh, yeah. No, I would do the same thing.
Right. So the first thing I did was I went to the fair lady in the center of the picture standing behind my grandparents and thinking that might be her.
Now, did you get a magnifying glass to do this? Because you can't zoom in.
No, but I was much younger and I could see better.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, right. Of course.
So I thought it was be the lady in the middle. Was not her. I went to the second lady who was wearing a boa and had a cheeky grin, and it was not her. Okay. I went to the third lady who was wearing a groovy muumuu and had sparkly eyes, and that was my Aunt Val.
Love it. Go Val.
So that left one last.
Just one. Now, how are you finding out that it wasn't them?
The names are on the back.
Okay. Got it. So you covered it up, took a peek.
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
So then the woman that was my mother
right.
Was the last one that I thought would be my mother.
Great.
Which is nothing other than she seemed the less like me. And I think it was just the angle of that picture, perhaps.
Yeah.
But she seemed not as rounded as I am. And her features looked very sharp. And I have very rounded features as well.
Right. I also think hair and wardrobe can contribute so much to a person.
Yeah.
That sometimes when people
say... And it was taken in the 70s.
Sure.
So, she was wearing a green... type like a leisure suit.
Great.
Like Kelly Green.
Nice,
leisure
Mom.
suit. I don't know why I remember that so clearly. Yeah. Okay. So no, I didn't, there was no disappointment. It was just the last person I thought it would be. And in meeting her later, I realized that picture didn't look like her either.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So, and I thought it was interesting she chose to send that picture.
She thought she
probably is the only one she had of all the kids.
Oh,
but
maybe
yeah,
that.
I don't know. All right, so that went on. So we just rode back and forth for a while, and I just went on with my life.
Right.
My friend Linda, you've all heard of. She was my best friend since we were 3 years old, and we went to the psychic together that kicked off this whole extravaganza. She was getting married the coming October, and I was going back for the wedding anyway, so I thought this is the perfect time to go back and introduce myself to these people who knew nothing of me.
Yeah. It's so nice that the timing worked out that within that year, you were already planning on going back. Cool.
Yes. Yeah, I was planning on going back anyway.
We've got plans to go back anyway.
So we've got plans to go back. So let me see. It rolls around. It's September, and I mean, it's October, and I board this plane for this. If you're flying directly to Australia, it's a 14-hour journey. Oof. Which is hard enough as it is. My dad booked the ticket for me.
No.
Finally landed in Perth.
Okay.
And this was a crazy, nervous time. It was the middle of the night. And I got off the plane, and of course I had to go through customs. Now, keep in mind, I'm traveling on an Australian passport.
Right.
I'm an Australian citizen, but I did come as a resident from LA.
Right.
They decided that I was who they were going to pull aside for customs to literally rifle through my luggage.
No.
So they pulled it aside and just started. I had these 2 huge suitcases back then when the wheels were on the bottom of the suitcase and there was a leash so it would tip over every few feet. I had 2 of those.
Of course.
And they opened them up and started literally pulling stuff out saying, "What's this?"
What?
That has never happened before.
Yeah, that's
it was
incredible.
Like,
and especially because this was pre 9/11, that you're like, just let them go. Just
it was like Midnight Express. I thought they were looking for drugs.
Right? Yeah.
Because I had come from LA and all LA people are druggies.
Of course.
You know, I had bleach blonde hair and a dark tan. So surely there was contraband.
That's what you're into.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So they, at one point, I think they were messing with me. So I had a bunch of photo albums that I brought with me, obviously.
Right.
And the guy was leafing through the pictures in the photo albums. And he stopped on one picture and said, "What's this?" And I said, "That is me at a convention center in Boston."
Yeah.
And he said, "It looks like you're in prison."
You're an actress, Julie. You should have gone with it and said, "Oh yeah, that was photograph day at Sing Sing." Like, would they even have that?
I should have, but why? But they would have kept me longer.
Yeah.
I had a record. Well, we have to talk to the authorities, you know. So I think it took me 2 hours total to get from the plane to out those doors.
Good God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nutty. So finally got there, went through the doors. And there was nobody else out there because everybody else had gone home. So there were 3 people standing there, which were my biological mother and my 2 brothers.
Wow.
And the younger one, who was very tall, had this huge camcorder that they had rented sitting on his shoulder.
Oh my gosh.
To videotape the moment, which was very sweet. And then my other brother, Noel, was there and
holding the
for support,
right?
And so we embraced, and it was weird and awkward and sweet.
Did anything feel familiar?
No,
right out of the gate. Yeah, I would have bet because it's so many emotions. I would also bet the guards are up. That even if you were to feel something familiar, you can't quite.
Yeah,
feel
I mean,
it
it felt very normal to hug her.
Right.
Like it made perfect sense that we should embrace.
Yeah, of course.
And we had spoken several times, so you know we knew what to expect, and we knew that we were excited to meet each other.
And you knew what each other looked like
from pictures. Yes. But I don't think she'd sent me any recent pictures. So I still didn't know exactly what to expect.
I'm so sorry. I want to go back to that videotape. Have you seen that? Have you seen
I
what
haven't
he
seen
recorded?
it since then.
Yeah, you should get a hold of that. I think that'd be really cool to look at.
I don't like watching myself.
Well, but it's not you. It's the moment. And especially now that you're so
Rich is giving me a look like, are you kidding?
It's not like a bad audition, Julie. It's meeting your birth mother for the first time.
Yeah. I think
but it's very
cool to
personal and private, and I think I feel like I don't know. You know what? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just get this out in the open. I am not in touch with my feelings and my emotions. I have difficulty showing vulnerability, and I hate watching myself be real. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair.
You should get a copy of it and post it on the site for this podcast for the good of the show.
Yeah. It's for the show. It's for the audience. The people demand it.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I don't even know if she still has it.
Oh, of course
Actually.
she still has it.
Yeah, she probably does.
Yeah.
But it's in a VHS. Who has a VHS player anymore?
Okay, I love you, and you did do a good job explaining why you don't want this to happen. But
perhaps
you
more
know
than
that
I
we
should
can
have.
transfer VHS. Yeah, I get it, and your excuse is good,
Thanks.
but it's an excuse. Okay,
Thanks.
got it. So you guys are in the car. Forgive me.
We're in the car.
Right.
We're going to a motel to spend the night because it's a 4-hour drive to Kalgoorlie. And my brother Noel actually lived in Perth, so we visited for a couple hours, then he took off, and then we went to sleep, and then we got in the car and the next morning and took a 4-hour trip across the desert.
Right. What did you think of your brothers?
I thought they were lovely. So my Noel, I met for just a couple hours, and I felt that we physically resembled each other the most.
Yeah.
Now, my mother's husband, John, is quite short, much shorter than she is. Because remember, she's 5'9.5".
Right.
So they were my sister and my oldest brother, are not much taller than me. But Sean is taller, the younger one. He's like a tall beanpole. So I thought I resembled Noel the most at that point, and he seemed nice enough, and we met very briefly.
No, I have a question. I mean, did the brothers know that, like, prior to you contacting your mother, that you existed?
That's a good question, Rich. No, nobody knew that I existed. Actually, my grandmother, who had passed away by then, knew I existed, and my aunt with the sparkly eyes, Val, also knew I existed because my mother had lived with her and her husband for a little while.
And did the brothers welcome you? Did you feel like you were welcomed into the family, sort of?
I did. I felt very welcomed by all of them. On the trip, I noticed that Sean was full of questions.
Yeah.
He wanted to know everything. He wanted to know why my hair was so many different colors. He wanted to know why I was so tan.
Right.
He wanted to know how much money I made.
Yeah.
And what kind of car I drove.
Okay.
And he wanted to know where I got a curling iron that didn't have a cord.
So now, did you feel like, we're just getting to know each other, or did it feel like an interrogation with all the questions?
Yeah, I felt like we were getting to know each other. I mean, he was 14.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, he was more curious than anybody else, which I appreciated because,
Yeah.
it's better to. I am not a fan of secrets.
Oh, no.
And I feel like we should all be our full
Agreed. Yeah, this is me.
person. Anyway, so yeah, he asked lots of questions. When we got there after that long 4 hours, my sister was there with her child that she had had the week before I found my mother.
Boy or girl?
Danielle.
So you had a niece out of the gate.
I had a niece already who is divine. We are still very close on Facebook. She now has a child of her own, and she's lovely.
That's so nuts. It's also so nuts to you're an aunt, just immediately.
I'm an immediate aunt, and I loved that idea.
Yeah.
And I also love the fact that Danielle, at this point, she was like 5 months old. Every time I would talk, she would like swing her head around to look at me because I sounded like a cartoon character.
Yes.
And also because I'm so... my accent, I just sound different than everybody. Plus, I have a piercing voice.
You have a great voice.
Not to mention.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That was a lot, though, all at once.
A lot. So I spent a week in their house just living life with them, just going to the local pub and people staring at me because I was ridiculously tanned.
Right.
Because I just come out of summer. Ridiculously blonde because it was the 80s. And just ridiculous looking compared to everybody there. I was obviously different from them.
This is how it's going to be. So, but you knew that you were going in October prior to summer. Do you think that you maybe tanned a bit more?
No, I tanned all the time back then.
Right.
It was all about the tan.
Like try to doll up for it.
Oh,
if I
did.
knew that it's 4
I did.
hours in advance, 4 months in advance.
Oh, I absolutely did my best to be cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Of course. Yeah.
So my sister and I spent a lot of time just kind of staring at each other to see if we could find similarities, which was fun. What we noticed the most were that we had identical feet.
Whoa. Cool.
Identical.
Isn't that funny?
That was like the closest thing that we could, and of course she had my natural coloring. We're the same height.
Right.
Our faces were structured a little differently. At one point we went out just as sisters to to go out and get a drink. And people would come up and say, because I was so weird looking, they would come up and talk to us and say, we're sisters. We loved saying that.
Of course.
And people would say, no, you're not. And they would actually challenge us on it.
Really?
Like, no, you're not.
No, we absolutely
Why
are.
would you lie?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not in kindergarten when I pretended my best friend was my sister.
Right.
But So yeah, we did that a lot, and I spent a week there. And after that week, it was time to go to Melbourne, which is on the other side of the country, for Linda's wedding. So finally got to Melbourne, and I got to visit my Dixon family as well, because my dad's family still lives in Australia. Yeah, we had a great time. Then after Linda went off on her honeymoon, Lynn and Anne Marie and Danielle, they had in the meantime been driving themselves across Australia to meet me and take me to meet all the family in Victoria, because all the family
They're
is
spread
in
out.
Victoria.
Right. Okay.
So we had various and sundry reunions, tons of cousins, aunts and uncles. I think all of them showed up, and my grandfather. I got to meet my grandfather.
So cool that
And his
everybody
lady
showed
friend.
up and was super into this.
Yeah, I don't know how super into it they were, but they all showed up, which was nice.
Yes, good.
I think some were more into it than others.
So your birth mother then, I mean, she had to kind of come out about this to everybody.
Everybody.
I mean, that was kind of brave for her to jump in and welcome you that way with not just her and her immediate family, but everybody. That's really something.
Yeah.
That's true. The jig was up. So she knew she had to come clean, which was, you're right, was very brave of her. And the first one, of course, was to her father, who didn't know. Her mother had known about me, but her father hadn't. For obvious reasons. She didn't want to disappoint him or what have you. After I initially contacted her, she had methodically contacted everybody in her family. She said, so, something I need to tell you. Of course, my Aunt Val already knew about it.
Right.
So meeting Aunt Val was the coolest. And I think Aunt Val is the one that I connect with the most. Mainly because she was there when I was born.
Oh, cool.
And she knew my father and his mother. When I went and spent a couple days with this aunt, at one point she pulled me aside and she said, I want you to have this picture, and I'll put it on the Facebook page. It's a photograph taken in front of the cross on this hill in Macedon where they lived. And it was she said, these are all of your grandparents.
What?
And it was my maternal grandmother and grandfather and my paternal grandmother. And we don't know if that guy in the picture was my father's father or not. I think I was so overwhelmed by all of this new information I had already. I didn't even want to delve into why are all these people together and why don't you know where they are now?
Right.
You know.
Yeah, no, because it's so much information.
Yes.
And I would bet you're a very considerate person. In fact, you won Miss Congeniality once at a beauty pageant.
Scholarship pageant.
Okay, got it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, of course. But I would bet that you were very considerate and very attuned with how comfortable people were with you, and so you catered your questions accordingly.
Yeah, I was a much nicer person back then.
No, you're still super nice. But
I just tucked the picture away, and I don't think I even asked my mother about it at that time. I'd asked her a few times about my father. I said, do I look like him? And she said, I don't see him in you at all. And I didn't know whether that was wishful thinking or she really didn't see.
Yeah.
And so it was clear she wasn't really interested in talking about him. She didn't say she didn't want me to find him.
Right.
But she warned me that he probably wouldn't want to meet me because of the type of person he was.
Okay. Yeah. I would want to protect you from that too.
Yeah. So I had this picture. I tucked it away and didn't look at it again for years.
Right.
Actually, I forgot I had it until I came across it one day. Another fun thing was that I had booked a guest spot on a daytime talk show.
Cool.
In Australia through somebody that heard my story.
Right.
And wanted to talk to me about it. And they also wanted me to sing.
Yeah.
So I went in one day and I recorded 2 songs at the studio.
This is crazy.
So I wasn't interviewed at that time, but Lynn came with me. My mother came with me. And it's the first time I've ever had anybody with me in a situation where I was performing.
Right.
And was my mother figure.
Your family.
And so as people would come in and introduce themselves, she would say, I'm the mom. And would say, you know what I mean?
I've never take pride
my
over
mom,
that. Yeah.
I loved my mom and she loved me, but she was never a stage mother and was never there backstage.
Right.
So it was touching to have her. I felt that she felt pride.
To be so proud. And did she give you proper compliments?
Yes.
Yeah, that
She
had to be
gave me
good, too.
Proper
Yeah.
compliments.
I like to give you improper compliments. Like, you really know how to shake and shimmy, Julie.
I don't consider that improper at all because it's true. So it got to the end. I think I was there 3 weeks, and I was spent. And the TV station had called and they said, "We want to interview you now. Can you come next week to interview?" And I said, "No."
Yeah, I want to go home.
Actually, I want to go home now.
Yeah.
I want to go back to my comfort zone, and I need to start working because I've spent all my money,
Right.
and get on with life. So got on a plane and headed back, and got on with life. Hey, I think that's the end of this episode. How do you feel about that?
I feel great. I had a lot of fun. What a good time. So, no, you have a few announcements for us. Something kind of cool is happening.
I do want to mention those of you that are in Southern California or plan on traveling to Southern California within the next week. From May 31st to June 2nd is the Southern California Genealogical Society Jamboree, which is an annual extravaganza for genealogists.
I'm so impressed that you said that without stumbling over any of those words.
Which
That
is
was a
weird
lot.
because I usually do.
Sure, well, you didn't this time.
I'm getting better. May 31st, which is the first day, is DNA Day, which is obviously my favorite. And there will be speaker after speaker. Blaine Bettinger will be there. Leila Pearl Larkin will be there. I believe she's going to mention me. I'm pretty excited about that. And I'm going to be there. So that's happening at I think it's the Burbank Hilton across from the airport.
Okay. And they have a whole website. If you're not here,
yes,
people
you can
go check it out.
Yeah,
right?
you can go to the Southern California Genealogical Society website. On Twitter, they are at SCGS Genealogy. And I'm sure you can get all the information there.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a swell time. Renee, how can people find you?
I'm also on Twitter at Renee Colvert, and I have a podcast called Can I Pet Your Dog?
Excellent, Rich.
I am Richard Castle, and that's on Twitter and SoundCloud and Facebook at Castle Songs.
Songs about castles. You can find us on Twitter at Cutoff Jeans Pod and on the Facebook at Cutoff Jeans Podcast. Please join us. Also, I know you're listening to this, but please, after you're done listening to it, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, review, and rate. That helps with our visibility and gets us more findable. Please ask questions on the Facebook page or the Twitter. I love answering questions. And if you would like to request me to talk about anything, I would be happy to do that too. Next week, by the way, I'm going to talk about mirror trees and how to do it because that has been requested of me.
Great.
All right. So one last thing. Remember, the truth is in your genes.